In today's video, we dive into a shocking true crime case where a single piece of CCTV footage became the key to solving the mystery. On October 31st, 2022, Ariadna Lopez's body was found on the side of the road in Moros, Mexico. She was 27 years old. At first, it looked like just another terrible accident or a case that would be forgotten in a country where people often get away with crimes. The police said there were no signs of abuse and said she died because she was drunk. But I didn't feel right. What did Ariadna do? Why did she leave Mexico City just hours before after getting together with friends? Also, why did the official story fall apart so quickly? There were major problems with the system that were shown by a controversial autopsy, a second forensic report that gave a totally different story, and two state governments blaming each other. Before her sad death, Ariadna Lopez had lived a life full of both dreams and struggles. She was 27 years old when she went missing. Her childhood was spent in poor areas of eastern Mexico City. Everyone called her Ahri because she was the youngest of 5 children. Her mother had died of cancer a few years before, and she was having trouble getting along with her father and older half-siblings. When she finally ran out of safe places to live, her family pretty much kicked her out. Her friends said she was always happy and full of life, dancing and singing all the time and loving classic rock and comedy. She loved her 7-year-old son very much and hoped to make their life better by moving to Cancun in the Caribbean. Ariadna did different jobs in Mexico City to support her son. First, she was a beautician, and then she was a waitress at a 60s rock bar in the Condesa neighborhood. She met a lot of different kinds of people there, some of whom were rich and powerful. She lost her job at a restaurant during the COVID-19 pandemic, but she later opened a small nail salon. She saw it as more than just a job. It was how she kept her freedom and her finances in order. Business was a way for Ariadna to make a statement about her desire to stand on her own. She ran the salon with the help of the skills she had learned and the people she knew. It gave her a new sense of purpose and a steady income. Around this time, a new person, a guy, came into her life, and she quickly became close with him. She felt emotionally stable and at ease in their relationship, which was different from how she had felt in a long time. She took care of her son, ran her business, and built this new relationship. Ariadna kept her life going forward. The routine of her daily life brought her joy, even though it wasn't easy. Even though things were beginning to look up, trouble was already starting to show up. Vanessa Flores and Ariadna met through friends they both had. They met for the first time at a party that Ariadna and people in her group were going to. Vanessa stood out right away because she was young, attractive, and good at making friends quickly. She seemed like the kind of person who would make an impression right away, warm, laid back, and friendly. But there was more to her for people who knew her better. Under the surface, she was reckless, hard to trust, and never what she said she would do. After that, there was Rautel Astudillo. Rautel, who was in his mid-30s, was often seen with Vanessa. He was a rich businessman who liked the good life. He was always the host and in charge. There was something flashy about his life that made people pay attention. Young women were interested in him because he was rich, had a lot of ties, and promised them better things. But something was always wrong with him. People talked about his ties to important people, even some shady ones, but no one had real proof. He never talked about his business in public, and if someone asked too many questions, he quickly changed the topic. He had a cool, in-charge vibe that could either make you feel at ease or uneasy. Vanessa and Rautel were a couple that people found both interesting and strange. For Ariadna, getting to know them would be the start of a story that no one could have seen coming, and it would end with silence. Even though Ariadna was smart, sensible, and highly independent, she didn't notice right away how her new friends were different from the people she was used to. Vanessa liked to talk about her ties, especially the one she had with Rautel. She was always trying to make a good impression. She made him look like he had a lot of power and could solve any problem. Over time, Ariadna grew to spend more time with both of them. Among them, Vanessa seemed to be drawn to her. She did everything she could to earn Ariadna's trust by giving her praise, chances, and a sense of belonging in a world that was new and exciting. Rautel was interested in Ariadna right away after hearing about her from Vanessa. He was friendly, well-groomed, and interested when they first met. He took the time to ask questions, listen carefully, and speak with confidence. He could make anyone feel important, and Ariadne was no exception. But there was something more complex going on beneath that smooth surface. Vanessa was a big part of getting them closer. She often asked Ariadne to join her at small get-togethers, dinners, and parties where Rautel would be. Everything felt easy and normal. People laughed, played music, and talked. It was easy to do everything. As time went on, Ariadne began to feel like she was part of that group. But not everyone agreed with it. Some of her close friends told her in private that they were worried. They told her to be careful because Vanessa and Rautel weren't really who they seemed to be. There were rumors that Rautel had a bad reputation and that Vanessa was hard to guess. It wasn't a threat to Ariadne, though. She just thought it was idle talk. She thought that becoming friends with Vanessa was a nice change and a way to take a break from the stress of being a mom and running a business. Rautel's actions, kindness, and open offers didn't seem forced or manipulative. She thought that this new world was fun and might even give her strength, but something much darker was beginning to take shape beneath it all. Vanessa was sending more texts, calling out of the blue, and inviting people to meet up for drinks or dinner more often. Ariadne didn't know it, but she was becoming more and more involved with their world. It sounded like a casual evening dinner with friends was what Vanessa asked her to do on October 30th, 2022. Just something low-key at Pfizer's, a cool restaurant in downtown Mexico City, she explained. Ariadne agreed, thinking it was safe. A strange message was put on her Facebook page at 5:55 p.m., just minutes before she went to the restaurant to meet Rautel and Vanessa. It asked, "Are you going to miss me?" And it is still there, along with comments and goodbyes from everyone who knew her. Later that night, the group got together. There was a lot of life at the table. Even though there were lots of drinks and small plates being passed around, Rautel was still the center of attention. Later that night, the group changed their plans on the spot. They were going to spend the rest of the night at Rautel's. Rautel came up with the idea, and Vanessa very much supported it. In a more private place, she said, things would be calmer. Vanessa softly convinced Ariadne to go along with it at first. In the end, she agreed. After that, the rest of the group piled into Rautel's car for the short trip. His flat in the Roma neighborhood showed how rich he was. It was a high-end home in a safe building with high walls, controlled entry, and surveillance cameras. After half an hour, around 7:45 p.m., friends left the flat. At 7:55 p.m., 10 minutes later, Ariadne's last WhatsApp action was seen. Following almost 2 days, on November 1st, 2022, word began to spread across Moros. An early morning ride on a country road by two bicycles led them to find the body of a woman lying on the side of the road. The place was out in the middle of nowhere, away from roads and neighborhoods. It was empty and quiet. She was dressed, but her clothes were dirty and torn. Her arms and torso were covered in bruises and dark marks, which were clear signs that she had been in a fight. The cyclists called the cops right away and took pictures of what they had found in case they could be used to help identify the person later. After a few hours, police came and quickly blocked off the area. The dirt had tire tracks and drag marks that showed the body had been moved. It was clear that she was hurt, but there were no stab wounds, gunshot wounds, or other signs that would explain how she died. No ID, phone, or cash. She was an unknown person who was found in a forgotten spot. No one knew who she was yet. Within hours, pictures of the body began going around the internet, which led to a lot of heated debate on social media. Friends and family of Ariadne, who had been desperately looking for her since she was last seen at Rautel's house, were among the people who saw them. The tattoos were easy for her brother Omar to spot. He called the cops and said that the woman they found in Moros might be his sister because he was afraid the worst. About the same time, Moros state officials started their own investigation, but the way they handled the case at first got a lot of bad press. Later, witnesses and news stories showed that important crime scene rules had not been followed. Not enough evidence was gathered, and some signs were not properly recorded. These mistakes made people very suspicious about how professional and honest the local cops might be. Their worst fears came true when Ariadne's family came to identify the body. Omar knew her right away because of the tattoo on her shoulder that was a tribute to their late mother. The shock was too much to handle, and seeing how badly her body looked made it worse. Her arms and face were bruised, which was a clear sign of being abused. But the police statements at the time were not clear and did not give a clear reason. The family thought it was vague. They wanted an investigation that was thorough and open, and soon they were asking for justice in public. On the same day, Ariadna's story was shared on social media by family and friends. What began as a small online project quickly grew to include thousands of voices. Even though public pressure was growing, the Moros police at first said her death might have been an accident until they had a full autopsy report. This made people even more suspicious, especially of the idea that someone with power might be trying to control the story. Soon, police called Rautel and Vanessa, who were the last two people who were known to have been with Ariadna. The first official version of what happened was based on what they said. Rautel says that Ariadne chose to leave his flat in the Roma neighborhood after the party and call a taxi on her own. His words were that she seemed a little upset, but not seriously upset. He said he walked her to the building's door and watched her leave. Vanessa agreed with his story and said that Ariadna hadn't said where she was going, but their story started to fall apart right away. In the first place, there was no proof that a cab had picked her up. Investigators confirmed that several cabs were sent to the area that night, but none of the drivers said they picked up Ariadna. What was also wrong was that Vanessa's story kept changing. At first, she said Ariadna had left her alone. She later said that the two of them had a fight earlier that night, which could have made her angry. The friends of Ariadna also told the police that Vanessa had called them and hinted that Ariadna might have hurt herself by mentioning the mysterious post she made on social media hours before she disappeared. Family and close friends thought Ariadna's mysterious post was just a bad joke at first, but authorities started to think it wasn't so funny after all. It might have shown how she really felt that night. Even more worrying was Vanessa's behavior, which was getting stranger and stranger. The messages she sent to Ariadna's friends seemed planned. They played down the situation and tried to keep the talk from getting into the specifics. She even said in one message that she was afraid of being accused, but she didn't say why. The police saw this as a red flag. It looked like she might be hiding something important. In the beginning of the study, things were not very clear. The details of Ariadna's death were not clear until new evidence started to come to light, thanks to the work of both police and private forensic experts. After 2 autopsies, surveillance video and text messages from the suspects' phones were found to be telling a different story. The first autopsy that was done in Morelos found that Ariadna had died of lung aspiration, which caused her to suffocate. The report said that food and booze in her airways could have killed her, but her family said that wasn't true right away. They pointed out the bruises she had on her face, arms, and legs that were barely mentioned in the first report. When Ariadna's body was taken to Mexico City for a second independent autopsy, the case took a big turn for the better. The family had asked for it because they didn't believe the Morelos prosecutor's first story, that she had choked on her own puke after drinking all night. What the new forensic team found told a very different story. The exam showed that she had a lot of direct force injuries, including serious damage to her head that could not have been caused by an accident. On her face, arms, and legs, dark bruises and cuts were discovered. Many of them looked like defense wounds, which means she may have tried to defend herself during an attack. There were signs of violence on these marks, not from a fall or a medical event. The second autopsy found that Ariadna's death was caused by a physical attack, not being drunk. This important discovery completely disproved the first story that the Morelos officials told. It changed the case from a suicide to a murder, which prosecutors would soon change to a femicide under Mexican law. After that, there was no turning back. The story of an unintentional death was changed to unquestionable proof of violence. For the first time, Ariadna's family had strong proof that what happened to her wasn't an accident, but a crime that needed to be punished. Then one of the most important pieces of information came in: security footage from Rautel's apartment building's parking garage. In a video clip taken the next morning after the party, Rautel can be seen bringing Ariadna's dead body to his car. From a different view, we can see him putting her in the car and driving off of the building. It was no longer a guess what would happen. A picture schedule was now part of the investigation. It would help figure out what Rautel and Vanessa had been saying from the beginning. The surveillance video changed everything because it proved beyond a doubt that Rautel was involved in taking Ariadna's body away and hiding it. When Rautel and Vanessa's phones were taken by police, The digital trail showed even more. Text messages between them showed that they were working hard to make their stories match up for the cops and to explain things to Ariadna's friends. When Vanessa told Rautel that she was worried about the pressure from the victim's family, he reassured her, "Everything is under control." In one conversation, he even told her how to answer questions without making people suspicious. While this was going on, Vanessa kept telling Ariadna's friends that she was emotionally unstable and that she might have hurt herself, even though there was no proof of this. She said Ariadna didn't want to go home because she was fighting with her flatmate. Then she said it was possible that Ariadna's phone had just run out of power. This story was very different from what Ariadna's friends told police. They said she was happy, social, and full of plans for the future. They also said she didn't seem depressed or like she was hurting herself. The couple went to Ariadna's wake on November 3rd. Rautel told the press a story about what happened that the police later proved to be false. Vanessa wrote to her boyfriend that night to tell him that words alone wouldn't be enough to show that Ariadna got out of the building alive. They needed a video or something. Once they were ready, they made a social media post with a picture of them with Vanessa. At this point, there was a lot of proof. Blood from Ariadna was found in the flat while it was being searched. It was clear from the second autopsy, the security video, and the found text messages that the body had been killed. Ariadna's death was not an accident, and she did not just leave Rautel's house. This woman had been harmed, and her body had been hidden on purpose. These results were the most important parts of the criminal case against both individuals. Vanessa was the first person who was grabbed. Her arrest got a lot of attention from the public, and cameras were there to record every moment. Vanessa claimed that she had nothing to do with Ariadna's death when she was first being questioned. She said she didn't remember what happened after the event because she went to bed early the night of the event. She later tried to say that she couldn't remember things because she was drunk. But when police looked at her story against phone records, surveillance footage, and comments from witnesses, they found big problems that couldn't be ignored. The story Vanessa had been saying did not match up at all with the phone records. Through messages, it was clear that she knew exactly what had happened that night and had talked to Rautel about it. Investigators also found that she had deleted pictures, messages, and other data that could have been important evidence. This was done on purpose to hide the fact that she had helped cover up the crime. Rautel moved when the heat got too high. He turned himself in to the police with his lawyers by his side. In front of the cameras, he insisted that he was innocent. He said he had never hurt Ariadna, but he did say he had hidden her body because he was afraid of being wrongly blamed. His story went that he found her unconscious in his flat the morning after the party. He moved her body to avoid being caught because he thought she was already dead. But his story fell apart very quickly. There was no question after the second autopsy. He said he found Ariadna dead for no reason, but her death had been brutal, which was clearly not true. Surveillance video showed him carrying her body in a planned and hidden way without calling for help or the police. His texts with Vanessa showed that they were working together to make up a story that didn't fit the facts or the proof. Concerning claims started to come up as the investigation went deeper, pointing to a possible link between Rautel and people working in the Morelos prosecutor's office. It was interesting that the first autopsy in Morelos didn't talk about injuries that definitely showed violence. Activists and Ariadna's family said the judge was covering for Rautel to keep him from facing legal consequences. The police investigation led them to a group of businesses that he and his family owned. This person is charged of running two businesses. The first is a parcel and courier service, and the second is a private security firm. The parents run a number of businesses that sell computer parts, office furniture, car washes, and polyurethane belts for cars. He has a brother who works for an airplane and a brother who is a lawyer. Most of them live in nice areas of Cuernavaca, which is the capital of Morelos. As people got more angry, officials in Mexico City said they would look into what the Morelos lawyer did. The Office of Internal Affairs started looking into possible wrongdoing. The case quickly got news across the country, showing how the justice system is flawed and how public pressure can move an investigation forward that has been held up. It became clear that at least one of the suspects was hiding important details about what happened that night as they were questioned and new proof was looked at. So far, neither Vanessa nor Rautel have taken direct blame. Their words were more about protecting themselves and explaining what they did than admitting the truth. Investigators put together a clearer story piece by piece from different witness reports, digital records, and psychological profiles of the suspects. Things were going well at first at a busy restaurant in the middle of Mexico City. Vanessa and Rautel, along with some of their friends, had dinner and drinks with Ariadna. After dinner, the group went to Rautel's flat in the Roma neighborhood. Vanessa and Rautel were the hosts, but people who were there could tell they were having trouble getting along. Vanessa, in particular, said a few rude things to Ariadna. Ariadna kept her cool and kept things from getting worse. After half an hour, around 7:45 p.m., friends left the flat. The next day, October 31st, at 10:27 a.m., Rautel's driver was seen arriving at the scene, leaving the car, and then returning a short time later. After 30 minutes, Rautel, the person who is thought to have killed her, is seen taking her body from the building to the SUV. The last pictures from the security cameras show Rautel leaving the scene and going to Teotlan, which is where Ariadna's body was later found. Investigators think Vanessa told Ariadna that she was drawing too much attention to Rautel, but the exact details of the argument are still not clear. Messages found on both suspects' phones showed that they talked about the heated arguments from that night later. According to the probe, Vanessa started to act violently after getting very drunk. During this time, something happened that hurt Ariadna so badly that she died. The story of what happened showed that Vanessa's anger, which was made worse by her drinking and unstable emotions, was a major cause of the tragedy. The things Rautel did afterward, which seemed to be an attempt to hide the truth, made things worse and made sure the result would be even worse. It was a big step forward to bring those responsible to justice when the first court cases began. Even though some officials were against it, the family fought for openness with the help of their lawyers. From the beginning, the case was mostly about what Rautel and Vanessa did. Surveillance footage, phone records, and recovered text messages were some of the damaging proof that the prosecutors showed. All of these things suggested that Ariadna's body had been hidden and that the person who did it may have been involved in the violence that killed her. The defense tried to say that what happened was a terrible mistake, but witness statements and forensic analysis kept showing that this was not true. Of course, the court also looked into the question of why. People who knew Vanessa said she was moody and irritable, and that her drinking often made those traits worse. Rautel Astudillo, on the other hand, was shown to have a shady past and ties to organized crime, which made people even less sure about his involvement in what happened that night. Both defendants kept denying guilt, but their stories didn't match up with the physical proof. This made the gap between what they said and what was known to be true even bigger. The reactions from government leaders made this case even more important. Oriol Carmona Gandra, the Attorney General of Morelos, was accused of changing the investigation and hiding evidence to protect the suspects. This led to a federal probe into corruption. He was caught in August 2023, fired in early 2025, and later found not guilty of the crimes in April 2024 because of a mistake in the law. Even though they were fired, public pressure was a big part of revealing what some saw as an establishment cover-up. There has not yet been a final decision. Authorities have brought charges that could make Ariadna's death a femicide, which is a crime in Mexico that is seen as the worst kind of violence against women. Both defendants could spend up to 70 years in jail if the court agrees with this classification and finds them guilty. Thanks for watching this chilling case. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime cases. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.